Good afternoon everyone. So now I will be showing to you the different functions I used in creating my function art, the Angry Bird. So now let's start with its hair. So this function x plus 1 raised to 2 equal to negative 3 times y minus 1.6 with the domain of negative 1 of x greater than negative 1 but less than 1.3 represents the hair of this Angry Bird. So, and next, this part of the hair of my function art, x equal to negative 1 with the domain of 0.8 y greater than 0.87 but less than 1.5. Next part is this function y equal to negative 0.8x with the domain of x greater than 0.94 but less than 0. And let's move on to this next part of its hair, which is a linear. So this part has a function of y equal to 0.7 connected with this parabola y minus 0.3 squared equal to 0.22 times x plus 2.3 with the domain of y greater than 0.2, negative 0.2 but less than 0.7. So now we were able to describe how to, and now we were able to determine the functions present on its hair. So let's move on to the outer part or the head of this Angry Bird. This function here is an ellipse. Y plus 2.9 squared over 8.2 plus x squared over 11.4 equal to 1 with the restriction or with the domain of y less than negative 0.036 and but greater than negative 2.124. And this function is connected to this function, which is a linear 3x equal to y minus 7.5 with the domain of y less than negative 2.13 and greater than negative 3.4. Let's move on to this function, which is connected to this domain. So this is also an ellipse. Y plus 4 raised to 2 over 6 plus x squared over 13 equal to 1 with the domain of y less than negative 4.136 but and greater than negative 6.5. And another outer part of his head is this. This is a linear equation. X equal to negative 0.1y plus 3.15 with the domain of y greater than negative 4.3 and less than negative 2.64 connected. And let's move on to the tail of my Angry Bird. So this function here, which is a linear equation, x equal to negative y minus 6.4 with the domain of y less than negative 2.35 and greater than negative 2.86. And connected with this function is this, which is also a linear equation, 3x equal to negative y minus 13 with the domain of y less than negative 1.9 and greater than negative 2.65. Another part of his tail is this function, this one, also a linear equation which connects the two equations I have stated earlier. So this function is a linear equation, x equal to y minus 1.8 with the domain of x greater than negative 4.07 and less than negative 3.7. So another part of its tail is this one. This is also a linear equation with a function of 0.6x equal to negative 3y minus 11.5 with a domain of x greater than negative 4.72 but less than negative 3.6. Next is this one, this part here connected with this function, connected with this one connected with this function. Okay, so let's move on. Now let's go on to the inner part of my Angry Bird. So this is an ellipse with this equation, x plus 2 squared over 0.3 squared plus y plus 4 squared over negative 0.3 squared equal to 1. And this one here, the bigger ellipse, this is a vertical ellipse with this function is x plus 1 squared over 0.1 plus y plus 4 squared over 0.4 equal to 1. So let's move on to this part. This function here is x minus 0 squared over 4 squared plus y plus 9 squared over 4.3 squared equal to 1 with the domain of x greater than negative 2.55 and less than 0.22. So let's this part here, this part here is a linear equation, x equal to negative 4y minus 9 with the domain of negative 0 x greater than negative 0.39 and less than 1.47, connected with this function, this one, connected with this function which is also a linear equation, x equal to 4y plus 12 with a domain of x greater than 1.52 and less than 3.22. And let's move on to the lower part of his eyebrow. This function here, x equal to negative 4y minus 11 with the domain of negative 0.46, x greater than negative 0.46 but less than 1.5. This here, the lower eyebrow of my Angry Bird with the function of x equal to 4y plus 14.2 with the domain of x greater than 1.55 but less than 3.33. Now let's go on to its eyes. This point here, this one, represents the right eye of Red Angry Bird with the point of 1 with the coordinates of 1, negative 3.34, and the left eye with 2, negative 3.34. this function here, this one here, this one is a function of y equal to x squared minus 1.2x minus 3.7 with the domain of x greater than 0 but less than 1.55. And then the left part, this function is y equal to x squared minus 4.7x plus 1.6 with the domain of x greater than 1.53. This one, which this one, x greater than 1.53 but less than 2.8. And let's move on to its big part, or its mouth. This one here, this function is x equal to negative 5.1 y minus 23 with the domain of x greater than 0.1 but less than 2.97. This part here is connected with this function, this one, which is y plus 6.4 raised to 2 equal to negative 4 times the quantity x minus 3.6 with the domain of y less than negative 3.5 and greater than negative 5. This is actually a parabola. This function here is 0.65x equal to y plus 6.7 with the domain of x greater than 1.4 but less than 2.54. And here, this function here is a linear equation, a linear function x equal to negative y minus 4.3 with the domain of y less than negative 4.63 and greater than negative 5.77. And lastly, this function here is also a linear equation that connects these two functions, this one and this one here. This is a linear equation x equal to negative 0.5y minus 0.5 with the domain of x greater than 2.14 but less than 2.4. And that's all. Thank you for watching.